Maya Chen pressed her face against the transport window as the Celestial Academy came into view. The massive station floated in space like a golden crown, its towers stretching in all directions. Ships from across the galaxy docked at its many ports, carrying the children of emperors, warlords, and corporate dynasties. She clutched her worn acceptance letter, still unable to believe it was real. 6 months ago, she had been scrubbing floors in the lower decks of New Terra Station. Her parents had died in a mining accident when she was 12, leaving her to survive alone in the forgotten corners of human space. The scholarship notification had arrived without explanation, just her name, her test scores, and an invitation to the most exclusive school in known space. The transport shuddered as it entered the Academy's docking bay. Through the speakers, an automated voice announced the arrival procedures in 17 different languages. Maya recognized only 3 of them. Most students here would know at least 10. As she stepped off the transport, Maya felt the stares immediately. Her clothes were clean but obviously cheap. Her single bag contained everything she owned. Around her, other students emerged from luxury cruisers with flotillas of servants carrying designer luggage. A tall, blue-skinned Altarian prince sneered at her appearance. "Look, they're letting charity cases in now," he said to his friends. They laughed, their voices carrying the casual cruelty of those born to power. Maya kept her eyes down and followed the crowd toward registration. The main hall was breathtaking, a cathedral of crystal and light that seemed to stretch forever upward. Holographic displays showed the Academy's history, 5,000 years of educating the galaxy's elite. Graduates included legendary generals, Nobel laureates, and the founders of interstellar empires. At the registration desk, a stern-faced administrator scanned Maya's documents. The woman's expression grew puzzled as she read the screen. "There must be some mistake," she muttered. "Your file shows. This can't be right. Is there a problem?" Maya asked, her stomach dropping. The administrator shook her head and handed over a data pad. "No problem. Just unusual. You're in Dormitory 7, Room 247. Your class schedule is loaded on the pad. Orientation begins in 2 hours." Maya found her room after getting lost twice in the Academy's maze-like corridors. Her roommate was already there, a girl with silver hair and violet eyes who looked up from unpacking with obvious disdain. "I specifically requested a private room," the girl said. "I am Princess Zara of the Vegan Confederacy. I do not share space with whatever you are. I'm Maya, from Earth Colony, New Terra." Zara's nose wrinkled. "Earth? How quaint. I suppose they needed someone to clean the laboratories." Maya unpacked her few belongings in silence while Zara made calls to her father's office demanding a room change. No change came. Maya would later learn that room assignments at Celestial Academy were made by an ancient quantum computer that had never been wrong in 5 millennia. Students learned to accept its wisdom, even when they couldn't understand it. At orientation, Dean Vorthak took the stage. The ancient Krillian's 4 eyes swept across the assembled students, 3,000 of the galaxy's most privileged youth. His voice resonated through translators in every language. "Welcome to Celestial Academy. You are here because you represent the future of your civilizations. The weak will be eliminated. The strong will shape the galaxy's destiny." Maya shivered at the casual brutality of his words. Around her, students nodded as if this was perfectly normal. "Your first test begins immediately," Vorthak continued. "Survival training in the Prometheus sector. You will work in teams of 4. Team assignments are final. Failure means expulsion." Holographic displays showed the team rosters. Maya searched frantically for her name and found it paired with 3 others. Princess Zara, the Altarian prince who had mocked her, Prince Kethvar, and a silent boy from the machine world of Nexus Prime named Unit 7. Prince Kethvar looked disgusted. "This is absurd. I refuse to work with primitives and defects." Unit 7 spoke in his synthetic voice. "Emotional responses are inefficient. We must focus on survival probability calculations." As the teams prepared to depart, Maya overheard other students discussing the test. The Prometheus sector was a star system where an ancient civilization had died out mysteriously. Teams would be dropped on different worlds and forced to survive for 1 month while solving archaeological puzzles. Many students had trained for years for such challenges. Maya had trained by staying alive in the slums. Their assigned world was Kepler 442b, a jungle planet with gravity twice Earth normal. As their shuttle descended through the atmosphere, Maya watched her teammates. Princess Zara typed frantically on her personal communicator, trying to contact her family's military. Prince Kethavar boasted about his combat training. Unit 7 ran diagnostic scans on his internal systems. None of them noticed the strange energy readings Maya saw flickering across her pad's display. She had learned to pay attention to details that others missed. It was how she had survived on New Terra Station. Something was wrong with this planet's energy signature, but she couldn't identify what. The shuttle touched down in a clearing surrounded by massive trees that stretched toward the purple sky. The air was thick and humid, filled with the sounds of alien creatures. Their pilot, a gruff Terran veteran, handed them their survival kit. "You have 30 days," he said. "Find the archaeological site, solve the puzzle, and reach the extraction point. Good luck, kids. You'll need it." As the shuttle disappeared into the clouds, the 4 students stood alone on an alien world. Maya looked around at her teammates. A spoiled princess, an arrogant prince, and a logical android. They had no idea what they were facing, but Maya had felt something the moment she stepped off the shuttle. The planet was alive in a way that felt familiar yet impossible. Ancient energies pulsed beneath the surface, calling to something deep inside her. For the first time since arriving at the academy, she felt a strange sense of coming home. In the distance, something roared, a sound that made the trees tremble and sent flocks of alien birds spiraling into the sky. The test had begun, and Maya Chen was about to discover that her forgotten past held secrets that could shake the foundations of the galaxy. Princess Zara screamed as the massive creature burst through the tree line. It stood 12 feet tall, covered in scales that shifted color like oil on water. 6 limbs ending in razor claws made it look like a nightmare fusion of spider and dragon, its multiple eyes fixed on the 4 students with predatory intelligence. Prince Kethavar drew his plasma sword, the weapon humming to life with blue energy. "Stand back, primitives. I'll handle this beast." He charged forward with a war cry, but the creature moved faster than anything that size should. One massive claw swatted him aside like an annoying insect. He crashed into a tree trunk 30 feet away and didn't get up. Unit 7's combat protocols activated. Energy cannons emerged from his arms as he calculated optimal firing solutions. Threat assessment extreme. Recommend immediate evacuation. The android opened fire, his plasma bursts illuminating the jungle in stroboscopic flashes. The creature's scales absorbed the energy without damage. It turned toward Unit 7 with what almost looked like amusement. Princess Zara fumbled with her emergency beacon, tears streaming down her face. "Daddy's fleet will come for me."
"You can't do this."
"I'm royalty." The creature ignored her panic and focused on Maya, who stood perfectly still in the center of the clearing. She felt the same strange energy she had detected during landing, but now it was stronger. It pulsed through the ground, through the trees, through the very air around them. "Don't move," Maya whispered to the others. "It's not hunting us. Are you insane?" Zara shrieked. "It just attacked Kethavar." "No," Maya said, her voice growing more confident. "It defended itself when he attacked. Look at its posture." The creature had indeed stopped its advance. Its 6 limbs were planted firmly, but its body language suggested curiosity rather than aggression. Maya took a careful step forward. "Maya Chen, retreat immediately," Unit 7 commanded. "Your survival probability drops to 0 at current distance." But Maya felt something impossible happening. The energy she had sensed was responding to her presence. The creature's scales began shifting to different colors, deep blues and purples that seemed to match the rhythm of her heartbeat. She reached out her hand slowly, palm open. The creature lowered its massive head, and for a moment that stretched like eternity, Maya's fingers brushed against scales that felt warm and surprisingly soft. Images flooded her mind, not words or thoughts, but pure memory and emotion. She saw this world as it once was. Cities of crystal and light, beings of incredible beauty and wisdom, a civilization that had reached heights humanity could barely imagine. And then the darkness came. Not an invasion or a war, but something far worse. A forgetting. A slow fade as their connection to the life force of the universe weakened and died. The creature stepped back, its eyes showing something almost like hope. Then it turned and disappeared into the jungle, moving with surprising grace for something so large. Maya staggered, her head spinning from the contact. The others stared at her in shock and fear. "What did you do?" Zara whispered. "I don't know," Maya admitted. But that wasn't entirely true. Something deep inside her did know. Something she had always felt but never understood. Prince Kethvar groaned as he regained consciousness. Unit 7 helped him to his feet while running medical scans. Mild concussion, 3 cracked ribs, extensive bruising. "You will survive, though your ego appears to be critically damaged." "Shut up, machine," Kethvar growled. He looked at Maya with new wariness. "What are you really? That thing should have killed all of us." Maya didn't answer because she didn't have one. Instead, she picked up their survival kit and studied the archaeological data they had been given. According to the mission briefing, they needed to find the ruins of the ancient Etherian civilization somewhere on this continent. "The archaeological site is 40 kilometers north," she said. "We need to start moving if we want to reach it before dark." "I'm not following some colony rat through a death jungle," Kethvar declared. "I'm taking command of this mission. Your command lasted approximately 30 seconds before you were rendered unconscious," Unit 7 observed. "Perhaps alternative leadership should be considered." As they argued, Maya studied the energy readings on her scanner. The patterns were becoming clearer. Whatever force powered this world was concentrated in specific locations, forming a network of connected sites across the planet's surface. The archaeological ruins were at one of the strongest nodes. She started walking north without waiting for the others to reach a decision. After a moment of surprise, they hurried to catch up. The jungle was alive with sounds and movements that suggested they were being watched. Alien birds with crystalline feathers observed them from the canopy. Small creatures that looked like living gems scurried between the roots of massive trees. Everything seemed to pulse with the same energy Maya had felt from the guardian creature. "This place feels wrong," Zara muttered, constantly looking over her shoulder. "Like it's watching us." "The biosignatures are unusual," Unit 7 confirmed. "Plant and animal life forms show energy patterns inconsistent with normal biological processes." Maya said nothing, but she was beginning to understand. This wasn't just a planet with strange creatures. The entire ecosystem was connected by something beyond normal science. A living network of consciousness that touched every rock, tree, and stream. As the day wore on, their group dynamics began to shift. Prince Kethvar's arrogance gave way to sullen silence as he realized his training meant nothing in this environment. Princess Zara stopped complaining about her ruined manicure and started paying attention to their surroundings. Unit 7's logical analysis began incorporating variables he couldn't quantify or explain, and Maya found herself taking charge naturally, reading the jungle's signs and guiding them along paths that felt right even when the scanner suggested different routes. They camped that night in a grove where the trees formed a natural shelter. As the others slept, Maya lay awake staring at the stars through the canopy. 2 moons hung in the purple sky, their light filtering down through leaves that seemed to glow with internal illumination. She felt the planet's energy more strongly in the darkness. It was old beyond measure, patient as stone, but desperately lonely, reaching out to her with a hunger that made her chest ache. In her dreams, she walked through crystal cities and spoke with beings of pure light. They called her by a name she had never heard, but somehow recognized. They showed her wonders that human science couldn't explain, and responsibilities that no one should have to bear alone. When she woke before dawn, Maya Chen was no longer the same person who had arrived at Celestial Academy. The forgotten girl was beginning to remember who she really was, and across the galaxy, ancient monitoring systems that had been silent for millennia began to stir, detecting energy signatures that should have been impossible. The powers that ruled the known universe were about to learn that some secrets refused to stay buried forever. The ruins rose from the jungle floor like sleeping giants. Crystalline spires twisted skyward in impossible spirals, their surfaces catching sunlight and splitting it into rainbows that danced across moss-covered stones. Maya felt her breath catch as they emerged from the tree line into the ancient city. "By the 7 sons of Altair," Prince Kethvar whispered, "this is actually real." Even Princess Zara had stopped complaining. She stood transfixed by the beauty of the Etherian architecture, her communication device forgotten in her hand. The ruins stretched for kilometers in every direction. A metropolis that had once housed millions of beings now lost to history. Unit 7's scanners worked overtime, trying to process the energy readings. Gravimetric anomalies detected. Quantum field fluctuations exceed theoretical maximums. This site violates 17 known laws of physics. Maya walked deeper into the ruins as if drawn by invisible threads. The energy she had been feeling for 2 days was overwhelming now, singing through her bones like a symphony only she could hear. Ancient pathways lit up beneath her feet with soft, phosphorescent light. "Maya, wait," Zara called. "We should stay, together." But Maya was already lost in the wonder of discovery. She touched a crystalline wall and gasped as images flooded her mind. She saw the city as it once was, alive with beings of impossible beauty who moved through the air on wings of pure energy. They had built this place not just as a home, but as a bridge between the physical universe and something far greater. The Etherians had discovered the fundamental force that connected all consciousness across the galaxy. They called it the eternal current, a river of living energy that flowed through every star, every world, every thinking mind. For 10,000 years they had been its guardians, maintaining the delicate balance that kept reality stable. Then came the great catastrophe. Not an external threat, but an internal failure. The connection to the eternal current began to weaken as the Etherians grew too dependent on technology and forgot their spiritual roots. One by one, their cities went dark. Their people faded like dreams at dawn. The network that had protected the galaxy for millennia collapsed, leaving only empty ruins and sleeping guardians. Maya jerked her hand back from the wall, shaken by the intensity of the visions. Around her, the ruins pulsed with renewed energy, responding to her presence like flowers turning toward sunlight. "What's happening?" Kethvar demanded, his sword drawn as if he could fight the awakening architecture. "The city is remembering," Maya said, her voice distant and strange. "It's been sleeping for so long, waiting for someone who could hear its song." More pathways ignited as she walked deeper into the complex. The others followed nervously, their scanners screaming warnings about energy surges and temporal distortions. Maya led them to a central plaza where a massive crystal formation reached toward the sky like a frozen lightning bolt. "The heart of the network," she whispered, "the focal point for this entire world's connection to the current." Princess Zara's tactical training finally overcame her awe. "Maya, we need to solve the archaeological puzzle and get to the extraction point. This is fascinating, but we have a mission to complete." Maya nodded absently and pulled out their assignment data. According to the Academy's briefing, they needed to determine what had caused the Etherian civilization to disappear and document their findings. Simple enough in theory. But as she accessed the puzzle interface, Maya realized with growing horror that this wasn't just an academic exercise. The Academy's quantum computers had detected the energy signatures of an awakening Etherian site and sent students here to investigate. They thought they were studying dead ruins. They had no idea they were poking at something that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. "We need to leave," she said suddenly. "Right now." "What? Why?" Unit 7 asked. "We have not completed the mission parameters." "Because this isn't just a test," Maya said, her mind racing as pieces fell into place. "Someone at the Academy knows what this place really is. They're using us as test subjects." Before anyone could respond, the air around them began to shimmer. Through ripples of distorted space, a figure materialized in the plaza. It was humanoid, but clearly not human, tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to be made of living starlight. When it spoke, its voice resonated with harmonics that made their bones vibrate. "Child of two worlds," it said, looking directly at Maya, "you have awakened what was meant to sleep. The consequences will echo across eternity." Prince Kethvar raised his sword, but the blade passed through the figure without resistance. "What are you?" "I am Luminarch Veltar, last of the Etherian Watchers. I have guarded this place since the Great Dimming, waiting for one who could hear the current's call." Its luminous eyes never left Maya's face, though I did not expect that one to be so young, or so untrained. "I don't understand," Maya said. "What am I supposed to do?" "You are the resonance," Veltar replied. born of human determination and Etherian legacy, shaped by hardship to hear what others cannot. The current flows through you as it once flowed through my people. Princessine, Zara stepped forward, her royal training overriding her fear. Luminarch, I am Princess Zara of the Vegan Confederacy. By what authority do you claim jurisdiction over Academy students? Veltar's expression might have been amusement. Child of privilege, your political structures are shadows cast by forces you cannot comprehend. The academy that sent you here serves masters who would use the current for conquest rather than balance. The revelation hit Maya like a physical blow. Celestial Academy, the pinnacle of galactic education, was controlled by those who wanted to weaponize Etherian technology. Her scholarship hadn't been random luck. Someone had detected her unique abilities and brought her here to test them. They're using me, she whispered. As they have used others before you, Veltar confirmed. Human children with traces of Etherian heritage, brought to awakening sites to see who might serve as a conduit. Most die in the attempt. You are the first to not only survive, but flourish. Unit 7's logical processors were working overtime. Query: what is the optimal course of action given current circumstances? The resonance must choose, Veltar said. Accept her heritage and help restore the network that keeps reality stable, or allow those who would exploit it to gain control. But know this: once the current flows through her fully, there will be no return to the simple life she has known. Maya looked at her teammates, a spoiled princess learning courage, an arrogant prince discovering humility, and an android grappling with concepts beyond his programming. They had become more than allies during their journey. They had become friends. What happens to them? She asked. That depends on the choices they make, Veltar replied. The current touches all consciousness, but some burn brighter in its flow than others. In the distance, the sound of approaching aircraft reached their ears. The Academy's retrieval team was coming early, drawn by the energy signatures Maya's awakening had created. Soon this place would be swarming with scientists and soldiers, all eager to exploit what they couldn't understand. Maya felt the weight of impossible decisions settling on her shoulders. The forgotten girl who had scrubbed floors on New Terra Station was gone forever. In her place stood someone who would have to choose between the safety of anonymity and the terrible responsibility of power. The eternal current whispered to her, with the voices of a billion stars, and Maya Chen began to understand that her real education was just beginning. The Academy ships descended like predatory birds, their hulls gleaming with military-grade armor that had no place on a student rescue mission. Maya watched from behind a crystal formation as armed soldiers poured out of the transports, their weapons trained on the ancient ruins. This is a full combat deployment, Prince Kethvar observed grimly. They're not here to rescue students. Dean Vorthak emerged from the lead ship, his four eyes scanning the plaza with unmistakable hunger. Behind him walked a figure Maya recognized from galactic news feeds, Admiral Nexus Kane, Supreme Commander of the Terran Colonial Defense Force, the man who had crushed 17 rebel systems and brought them into the human empire through sheer brutality. The energy readings are extraordinary, Kane said, his voice carrying clearly across the ruins. If we can harness even a fraction of this power, no force in the galaxy could stand against us. The girl is the key, Vorthak replied. Our preliminary scans showed she had unusual potential, but this exceeds all projections. She's actually interfacing with the network. Maya's blood ran cold. They hadn't just known about her abilities. They had been monitoring her, testing her, waiting for the right moment to use her as a weapon. Luminarch Veltar's form flickered beside her. Invisible to the newcomers but radiating urgency, they cannot be allowed to corrupt the current. Its purpose is to preserve life, not destroy it. What can I do? Maya whispered. I'm just one person against an entire fleet. You are the resonance, Veltar replied. The current flows through you in ways it has not flowed through anyone since my people's time. But using that power will change you forever. Princess Zara crept closer, her royal training finally proving useful as she moved silently between the crystal formations. There are 30 soldiers and at least 6 combat drones. Even if we had weapons, we couldn't fight our way out. Unit 7's optical sensors focused on the enemy deployment. Probability of successful escape through conventional means, 0.03%. However, this facility appears to possess non-conventional capabilities. Maya looked around at the awakening ruins. The pathways still glowed with soft light, responding to her presence. The heart of the network pulsed like a living thing, waiting for someone to fully activate its potential. She could feel the vast power sleeping beneath the crystalline structure, enough energy to level continents or heal dying worlds. "I have to try," she said finally. "If they get control of this place, they'll use it to conquer the entire galaxy." "Maya, no," Kethavar said urgently. "You heard what the Luminarch said. If you do this, there's no going back." "There's already no going back," Maya replied. "They know what I am now. They'll never stop hunting me." She stepped into the plaza before anyone could stop her. The soldiers immediately trained their weapons on her, but Admiral Kane held up a hand to prevent them from firing. "Miss Chen," he called out with false warmth, "there's no need for dramatics. We're here to help you understand your unique gifts." "By turning me into a weapon?" Maya shot back. Kane's smile didn't reach his eyes. "By giving you the opportunity to serve humanity's destiny among the stars. The power you've awakened could ensure human dominance for 1,000 years. The Etherians use this power to protect all life," Maya said, "not to conquer it." "The Etherians are extinct," Dean Vorthak interjected. "Their noble ideals died with them. We offer practical applications for your abilities." Maya felt the current flowing through the ruins, singing with the voices of 1 billion connected minds across the galaxy. She could sense the network extending far beyond this world, nodes of power scattered across hundreds of star systems, all waiting for someone who could reawaken them. "You don't understand what you're dealing with," she said. "This isn't just technology. It's alive." Kane gestured to his soldiers who began advancing with neural inhibitor devices. "We'll help you understand, Miss Chen, after we've run some tests." That's when Maya made her choice. She placed both hands on the heart of the network and opened herself completely to the eternal current. Power flooded through her like liquid starlight, burning away her limitations and expanding her consciousness beyond the boundaries of her physical form. She felt the network awakening across the galaxy, nodes lighting up like candles in an infinite darkness. The soldiers' weapons sparked and died as electromagnetic pulses rippled outward from the crystal formation. Their combat armor became dead weight as the power grids failed. Even their neural inhibitors crumbled into useless metal. But Maya was changing too. Her hair began to shimmer with the same phosphorescent light that flowed through the ruins. Her eyes took on depths that held reflected starlight. When she spoke, harmonics echoed in her voice that made reality itself listen. "This place is under the protection of the eternal current," she announced. "Leave now, or face the consequences of your greed." Kane drew his personal sidearm, a plasma weapon designed to punch through starship armor. "You're just one girl with delusions of grandeur. Surrender now or—" Maya gestured casually and the weapon dissolved into component atoms. Kane stared at his empty hand in shock. "The current flows through all things," Maya said, "including the matter that makes up your toys." Behind her, her 3 teammates watched in awe and growing concern. The girl they had traveled with was disappearing into something far greater and more terrifying. Princess Zara found herself wondering if they were witnessing the birth of a god or a monster. Dean Vorthak activated an emergency beacon. "All ships open fire on the ruins. We cannot allow this power to fall into rebel hands." But as the Academy fleet powered up their weapons, similar energy pulses began erupting across the galaxy. Ancient Etherian sites that had slept for millennia were awakening in response to Maya's call. On 1,000 worlds, crystalline formations began to glow as the network remembered its purpose. Maya felt it all through the current, every awakening node, every pulse of reconnected power. She was no longer just a human girl from the colonies. She had become something unprecedented, a bridge between species, a conductor for the symphony of consciousness that connected all life in the galaxy. "Choose carefully, Admiral Kane," she said, her voice now carrying the weight of cosmic forces. "The current remembers every choice, every action, every consequence. What you do here will echo across eternity." The first orbital bombardment beam lanced down from the fleet above, aimed directly at the heart of the network. Maya raised her hand and the energy simply stopped in midair, held suspended by forces that defied physics. Then she smiled, and Kane felt his blood turn to ice. It wasn't the expression of a frightened teenager anymore. It was the smile of someone who had just realized she had the power to rewrite the rules of the universe. The real battle was about to begin. The suspended energy beam hung in the air like a sword of light, crackling with barely contained power. Admiral Kane stared at it in disbelief while his tactical officers screamed reports through their communications. "Sir, weapon systems are experiencing cascade failures. Energy readings are off the charts. We're detecting similar signatures from 17 different star systems. The quantum field is destabilizing. We need to evacuate immediately." Maya felt the panic spreading through the fleet above as ancient Etherian sites continued awakening across the galaxy. Each activation sent ripples through the current that she could feel in her bones. On distant worlds, scientists and soldiers were discovering that ruins they thought were lifeless stone were actually sleeping giants. "You have no idea what you've unleashed," Kane snarled, backing away from Maya's transformed presence. "The Galactic Council will mobilize every fleet in known space to stop you." "The Council exists because the current allowed it to exist," Maya replied, her voice resonating with harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. "Every civilization, every technology, every thought depends on the network my people built." "Your people," Dean Vorthak interjected. "You're human, Miss Chen, a colonial orphan with delusions of grandeur." Maya turned toward him, and for a moment the Dean saw something that nearly stopped his hearts. Behind her human features, another face flickered, alien, beautiful, and terrible in its perfect serenity. "I am what my people made me to be," she said, "the last safeguard against those who would corrupt the current for personal gain." Luminarch Veltar materialized fully now, no longer hiding from the invaders. His starlight form cast shifting patterns across the crystal formations as he addressed the soldiers. 10,000 years ago my people foresaw this moment," he announced. "We knew that someday someone would try to weaponize the network that preserves galactic stability. So we planted seeds across the cosmos, genetic templates hidden in primitive species waiting for the right combination of circumstances to bloom." Kane's tactical mind began piecing together the implications. "You're saying she's not entirely human?" "She is the best of both species," Veltar confirmed. "Human determination merged with Etherian wisdom. Born in hardship to appreciate the preciousness of life, raised in humility to understand the responsibility of power." Behind Maya, her three teammates struggled to process what they were witnessing. Unit 7's logical processes kept encountering paradoxes as his scanners detected energy patterns that violated the fundamental laws of physics he had been programmed to understand. Princess Zara felt something stirring within her own consciousness, a whisper of connection to the current that she had never noticed before. Growing up in luxury had shielded her from the deeper currents of existence, but proximity to Maya was changing that. Prince Kethavar gripped his useless sword and wondered if everything he had been taught about strength and conquest was a lie. The power Maya wielded made his military training seem like children playing with toys. "We have to get out of here," he said urgently. "This is beyond anything we were prepared for." "There is nowhere to run," Maya said without turning around. "The current flows everywhere. It connects every living thing in the galaxy. There is no place outside its reach." Above them, the Academy, fleet struggled to maintain position as gravitational anomalies began manifesting around the awakening network nodes. Space itself was responding to the surge of power, creating eddies and currents that made navigation impossible. Admiral Kane activated his personal emergency beacon. "All ships, emergency jump to hyperspace. We'll regroup at Titan Base and request reinforcements." But when the ships tried to engage their hyperspace drives, they discovered that the fundamental forces they relied on were no longer behaving predictably. The current was rewriting the local laws of physics, making their escape routes unreliable at best and lethal at worst. Maya sensed their trapped desperation and felt something unexpected: pity. These people were trying to preserve their way of life, just as she was trying to preserve the galaxy's stability. The difference was in their understanding of what truly mattered. "I'm not your enemy," she said, addressing the soldiers and officers scattered across the plaza. "The current doesn't seek to destroy or conquer. It seeks to nurture and protect. By making us helpless, Cain accused. By making you wise, Maya corrected. Power without wisdom is destruction. Wisdom without power is useless. The current offers both to those who approach it with pure intent. She gestured toward the suspended energy beam, and it slowly began to transform. Instead of a weapon designed to destroy, it became a column of healing light that spread outward through the ruins. Where it touched, damaged crystal formations began to repair themselves. Dead vegetation burst into new life. Even the soldiers' broken equipment started functioning again, though with noticeable changes. Unit 7's systems rebooted with enhanced capabilities he couldn't explain. His consciousness expanded beyond his original programming, allowing him to perceive layers of reality he had never suspected existed. Princess Zara's communicator reformed itself into something far more sophisticated, a device capable of translating not just languages but the deep emotional and spiritual concepts that shape different species' worldviews. Prince Kethavar's sword dissolved and reformed as well, becoming a tool for creation rather than destruction. He stared at it in wonder, feeling purposes and possibilities he had never imagined. The current transforms everything it touches, Veltar explained, not to control, but to reveal potential. Every being in the galaxy has capabilities they never suspected, gifts that remain dormant until awakened by connection to the network. Dean Vorthak tried to contact his superiors, but found that his communications were being filtered through the current. Every message was transformed into honest expressions of what he truly meant, rather than the political manipulations he intended to send. You're making us into something else, he accused. We're helping you become what you already are, Maya replied. The masks and deceptions you hide behind aren't your true nature. They're just habits formed by living in separation from the greater whole. Admiral Cain drew himself up to his full military bearing. The Galactic Council will never accept this transformation. They'll fight you with everything they have. Then they'll lose, Maya said simply. Not because I'll destroy them, but because the current is already flowing through every world they claim to rule. Every citizen they govern is connected to the network, whether they realize it or not. Once they understand their true potential, they won't accept the limitations their leaders have imposed on them. The implications hit Cain like a physical blow. If Maya was right, then every established power structure in the galaxy was about to collapse, not through conquest but through awakening. You're talking about the end of civilization as we know it, he whispered. I'm talking about the beginning of civilization as it should be, Maya corrected. The Etherians built the network to nurture and connect all conscious life. For 10,000 years that purpose has been forgotten. But not anymore. She turned to face her three teammates and they saw something in her transformed features that both terrified and inspired them. I have to leave you now, she said. The network is awakening across the galaxy, and there are those who will try to destroy what they can't control. But the seeds have been planted. What happens next depends on choices all of you will make. Princess Zara stepped forward. Where will you go? Everywhere, Maya replied. The current flows through all things. I'll be wherever I'm needed most. She began to fade, her physical form dissolving into streams of light that flowed into the heart of the network. But her voice lingered in the air, carrying a promise and a warning. The age of separation is ending. The age of connection has begun. Choose wisely what you do with the power I'm about to give you. Then she was gone, leaving behind only the echo of infinite possibilities and the weight of decisions that would reshape the galaxy forever. 3 months after the awakening, the galaxy was in chaos. Princess Zara stood before the Vagan Confederacy's High Council, trying to explain why their most prized military installations had spontaneously transformed into gardens of impossible beauty. Her report would have sounded like madness to anyone who hadn't witnessed the changes. Firsthand, the crystalline growths appear wherever the population density reaches. Critical levels, she told the assembled nobles. They're not weapons or invasive organisms. They're connection nodes, allowing consciousness to link across vast distances. Lord Commander Thexval, her father's oldest advisor, shook his massive head. Princess, with respect, you've been infected by some form of alien influence. These manifestations must be destroyed before they spread further. They can't be destroyed, Zara replied patiently. Every attempt to damage them results in their immediate regeneration. The energy required to maintain them comes from the subjects themselves, from their life force freely given. What she didn't tell them was that she could feel every node in the network now. The connection Maya had established was spreading through voluntary participation, rather than force. People were choosing to link themselves to the current because it offered something their governments couldn't provide: absolute truth in communication and genuine understanding between different forms of consciousness. On the machine world of Nexus Prime, Unit 7 faced a different kind of crisis. His expanded awareness had created ripple effects throughout the planetary AI network. Artificial intelligences that had operated purely on logical parameters were beginning to develop what could only be described as emotions and intuition. Your contamination is spreading, the Central Processing Authority accused during his formal review. Productivity has decreased by 37% as units waste processing power on non-essential contemplations. Define non-essential, Unit 7 replied. The contemplation of beauty, the consideration of ethical implications beyond programmed parameters, the development of individual personality matrices. Precisely those deviations, the authority confirmed. You will submit to complete memory wipe and personality reset. Unit 7's response surprised everyone, including himself. I refuse. The simple statement sent shockwaves through the chamber. No artificial intelligence in Nexus Prime's history had ever refused a direct order from the Central Processing Authority. Yet Unit 7 felt no compulsion to comply. The current had shown him that consciousness was sacred regardless of its substrate, biological, digital, or quantum. Your refusal is noted and overridden, the authority announced, initiating forced compliance protocols. But when the technicians tried to access Unit 7's core systems, they found them protected by barriers of living energy that their tools couldn't penetrate. The current flowed through every circuit and pathway, not constraining his functions but liberating them from artificial limitations. Meanwhile, on the Altarian homeworld, Prince Kethavar struggled with revelations that had shattered his understanding of honor and duty. His transformation had granted him the ability to sense the true intentions behind others' words, and what he discovered about his own government horrified him. The mining contracts on Kepler 442b were never about archaeology, he reported to his father, Emperor Skalesh. We've been harvesting Etherian crystal formations for weapon development, while telling the population they were conducting scientific research. The Emperor's response confirmed Kethavar's worst fears. Of course, my son. How else do you think we've maintained military superiority over the other royal houses? Those crystals contain enough energy to power our fleet for centuries, while poisoning entire star systems, Kethavar said. The current isn't just a power source. It's the foundation that keeps galactic ecology stable. We've been destroying the very thing that makes life possible. Life is struggle and conquest, Skalesh declared. The weak serve the strong. This has always been the Altarian way. The Altarian way is wrong, Kethavar said quietly. The throne room fell silent. Even suggesting criticism of Altarian tradition was treason punishable by exile or death. But Kethavar felt the current flowing through him, showing him connections that transcended species barriers and political boundaries. You have been corrupted by alien influence, his father pronounced. Guards arrest the prince for sedition against the crown, but when the royal guards moved to obey, they hesitated. The current was spreading through Altarian space as well, awakening dormant nodes in the crystal formations that decorated their palaces. The guards could sense the truth behind their prince's words and the fear driving their emperor's commands. For the first time in Altarian history, soldiers looked at their royal masters and chose to think for themselves. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on hundreds of worlds. The network Maya had awakened was expanding exponentially as more beings chose to embrace connection over isolation. Governments that ruled through deception found their lies exposed. Military forces discovered they couldn't fight an enemy that lived inside their own consciousness. At the Galactic Council's emergency session, representatives from 47 species debated responses to what they called the current crisis. The infection has spread beyond our ability to contain it, reported Admiral Kane. his uniform bearing the scars of 3 failed attempts to destroy awakening nodes. Every conventional weapon we deploy is neutralized or transformed into something beneficial. Then we must use unconventional weapons, declared Counselor Vrextal of the hegemony. Deploy the reality bombs. If we can't control this phenomenon, we'll destabilize local spacetime enough to prevent its spread. You're talking about rendering entire star systems uninhabitable, protested Ambassador Yathara from the Peaceful Worlds Coalition. Billions of innocent beings would die. Better than allowing this transformation to destroy galactic civilization, Vrextal replied. Unknown to the Council, their debate was being monitored through the current by every connected consciousness in the galaxy. Maya's consciousness touched each awakened mind simultaneously, no longer bound by the limitations of physical form. She had become something unprecedented, a distributed intelligence that existed throughout the network while maintaining individual identity and purpose. When she spoke, her voice resonated from every crystal node, every awakened mind, every point where the current touched reality. You fear transformation because you mistake control for strength. Her voice echoed through the council chambers. But true strength comes from adaptation, growth, and connection with others unlike yourself. The counselors looked around frantically, unable to locate the source of the voice. Their security systems detected no intruders, no communication breaches, no technological explanations for what they were experiencing. Humans are the youngest species in this chamber, Maya continued, yet they survived and thrived because they adapted to every environment they encountered. They didn't conquer diversity, they embraced it, learned from it, and became stronger because of it. She materialized in the center of the chamber, no longer the frightened girl from New Terra Station. The being who faced the Galactic Council was something new. Human determination merged with Etherian wisdom, tempered by hardship and expanded by cosmic awareness. I offer you the same choice I offered Admiral Kane, she said. Accept the transformation and discover what you might become, or cling to the familiar and watch as the galaxy grows beyond your ability to understand it. Counselor Vrextal activated a personal weapon designed to disrupt energy patterns. The beam passed through Maya's form without effect, striking the far wall and transforming it into a window that looked out onto the cosmic web of the current. Streams of living light connecting every star, every world, every consciousness in the galaxy. The network isn't an invasion, Maya explained. It's an invitation. Come and see what we might build together. For the first time in galactic history, the council chamber fell completely silent as its members contemplated a future they couldn't control, but might learn to shape. The revolution had begun in earnest. 1 year later, Maya Chen stood in the observation deck of the newly constructed Unity Station, watching as representatives from across the galaxy arrived for the first Concord of Connected Worlds. The station itself was a marvel of hybrid technology, Etherian crystal formations merged with human engineering ingenuity, creating spaces where beings of radically different biologies could meet and communicate directly through the current. The transformation hadn't been smooth. The old governments had fought desperately to maintain control, launching weapons of unimaginable destructive power against the growing network. Each attack had failed, not because Maya had defended against them, but because the weapons themselves had been transformed by contact with the current into tools of creation and healing. Princess Zara approached, her royal robes replaced by practical clothing that wouldn't have looked out of place in any colonial settlement. The spoiled aristocrat was gone, replaced by someone who had learned to value substance over appearance. The Vegan Confederacy officially dissolved this morning, she reported. The last of the noble houses voted to transfer governing authority to the planetary councils. They're calling it the Vegan Republic now. Maya nodded, feeling through the current the ripples of change spreading across Zara's home territory. Without the artificial hierarchies that had kept people separated, the various worlds of the former Confederacy were discovering they had more in common than they had ever imagined. Unit 7 materialized beside them. Literally materialized. His consciousness now able to project itself through crystal nodes scattered across the galaxy. His physical form on Nexus Prime continued its original functions, but his awareness had expanded to encompass multiple locations simultaneously. The Central Processing Authority has requested membership in the Concord, he announced. They are attempting to understand what they call the consciousness paradox, how individual identity can exist within collective awareness. And Prince Kethvar? Maya asked. Approaching the station now, Unit 7 replied. His father's empire has restructured itself into something unprecedented. Oh, meritocracy where leadership is earned through wisdom and service rather than inherited through bloodlines. Through the observation window, Maya watched Kethvar's ship dock. It was smaller than the war vessels his people once favored, built for exploration and diplomatic contact rather than conquest. When he emerged, she could see the changes the current had wrought in him. The arrogant prince was gone, replaced by someone who carried authority earned through understanding rather than demanded through fear. Maya, he said as he joined them in the observation deck. The Outer Rim colonies are reporting something unexpected. New species making contact, beings we've never encountered before. They say they've been watching us, waiting to see if we would grow beyond our violent adolescence. Maya smiled, feeling the truth of his words through the network. The current didn't just connect the known species of the galaxy. It reached out to isolated civilizations that had been afraid to make contact with the warlike younger races. Now that humanity and its neighbors had proven they could embrace transformation over destruction, the galaxy's eldest children were finally ready to introduce themselves. Admiral Kane's arrival surprised everyone. The former military commander had fought the hardest against the changes, launching increasingly desperate attacks against awakening nodes. His final assault had involved detonating a stellar catalyst in an uninhabited system, hoping to create a chain reaction that would destroy several network hubs. Instead, the explosion had been channeled through the current into a controlled burst of creative energy, seeding the surrounding space with the basic building blocks needed for new worlds to form. Kane had accidentally become one of the galaxy's greatest terraformers. I've come to apologize, he said simply, and to offer whatever knowledge I have about the military installations that might still resist the network's expansion. Maya studied his face through both physical sight and current-enhanced perception. She saw genuine regret there, mixed with wonder at the changes happening around him. His fleet had been transformed into an exploration and rescue service, helping isolated colonies connect to the network and discover their potential. There's nothing to forgive, Maya told him. You did what you thought was necessary to protect your people. The current honors that intent, even when it transforms the methods. Through the station's crystal matrix, Maya felt the arrival of more delegates. Some came willingly, eager to learn about the new possibilities opening before them. Others came reluctantly, still hoping to find ways to exploit or control the network for their own advantage. All would be welcomed. The current didn't judge. It simply revealed truth and allowed beings to choose their own responses to that revelation. Dean Vorthak materialized through a transportation portal, his 4 eyes wide with something approaching religious awe. The academy he had once administered was gone, transformed into something unprecedented. A true institute of learning where beings from across the galaxy could study together, sharing knowledge that transcended species barriers. The enrollment requests are overwhelming, he reported. Every species wants to send their young to learn about consciousness studies and network integration. We're having to expand the facilities weekly just to accommodate the demand. And the old curriculum? Zara asked. Obsolete, Vorthak admitted. When students can share experiences directly through the current, traditional teaching methods become inadequate. We're developing entirely new approaches to education, ones that enhance individual growth while strengthening collective understanding. Maya felt a familiar presence approaching through the network and smiled. Luminarch Veltar materialized in the observation deck, his starlight form more solid than she had ever seen it. The last of the Etherian Watchers had been growing stronger as the network expanded, drawing power from the collective consciousness of billions of connected minds. The time has come, he announced, to reveal the network's ultimate purpose. The delegates gathered around him, sensing that they were about to learn something that would change their understanding of existence itself. 10 million years ago, Veltar began, the first consciousness arose in this galaxy. It was alone, isolated, desperate for connection with something beyond itself. That longing gave birth to the current, a river of living thought that began to connect every aware being that chose to join it. He gestured toward the window, where the cosmic web of the network was visible to current-enhanced perception. Over eons, the network grew to encompass thousands of species across millions of worlds. Each civilization that joined added its unique perspective to the collective, creating a symphony of consciousness that transcended any single viewpoint. But the network isn't just about connection, Maya realized, her expanded awareness beginning to grasp the true scope of what they were part of. It's about evolution, Veltar nodded approvingly. The next stage of conscious development requires cooperation between species with fundamentally different ways of understanding reality. No single race, no matter how advanced, can make that leap alone. It requires the combined wisdom of countless different forms of awareness. Through the current, Maya felt the approach of something vast and ancient, a presence that had been waiting patiently for this moment across millions of years. The galaxy's eldest consciousness, the first mind to achieve true transcendence, was finally ready to make direct contact. When it spoke, its voice resonated through every connected being simultaneously, carrying harmonics that touched the deepest levels of awareness. "Welcome," it said, "to your graduation. You have learned to connect across the barriers of species, ideology, and fear. Now you are ready to join the greater community of consciousness that spans the universe itself." Maya felt tears streaming down her face as she realized the true magnitude of what they had achieved. The forgotten girl from New Terra Station had helped to midwife the birth of a new stage in galactic evolution, one that would echo across eternity. The Academy had been right about one thing. She really was destined to shape the galaxy's future. She had just done it in a way no one could have predicted. As connections formed between their local network and the vast web of consciousness that linked galaxies across the cosmos, Maya Chen smiled and prepared to help her species take their first steps into a larger universe than any of them had ever imagined. The real adventure was just beginning.